Good afternoon. I finally got set down. I have been running around. I had so many things I needed to do, but we had a wonderful weekend. I hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. So I want to tell you what all I did today. I went to Myers. We went walking. And then I went to the chicken place, KFC, and got James a snack, dark meat, chicken legs, and took him his lunch. And I've just been busy. And I haven't even treated my feet. So right now I'm treating my feet. And so I thought I'd sit down and talk about only the Lord knows what. But I want to read this. It's Psalms 121, 1 through 8, if you read the whole thing. Each of us should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. And we all have gifts, and it's different things. And everybody really knows what they're good at and what they can do. I didn't know I could be such a hit on YouTube, but now, would you believe I have 70,000 followers again? It's definitely a miracle of God. But I was thinking what to talk about, and I thought some of y'all are new. I have a bunch of new subscribers, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, which you've heard before. And my brothers watch all the time, and they know I'm the oldest of 9 kids. And I have had 7 brothers and 1 sister. And 2 brothers have already gone to heaven, and my 1 sister died about 17 years ago, and I miss her still. You still miss her? I cried so much over her because I missed her. I was lonely. I was just devastated when she passed away because we were so close. But life goes on for us who are still here. So I'm still here, and the way my life went, we used to sing that song in church. I'll go where you want me to go, dear Lord. I'll be what you want me to be. And I thought, I really will, Lord. Do you want me to be maybe somebody overseas preaching to the Africans? Or, as a young girl, I thought all kinds of thoughts. How could I be a missionary? I would love to be a missionary. That's what I wanted to be when I was a little girl. I wanted to travel to lands and tell them about Jesus. That was my goal, I thought. Well, it's not what was in the cards. So anyway, and God does the deciding. And He knows our future, and He knows what's going to happen, and I didn't. So at 16, I was not happy at home because I had all these little brothers, and I had to help all the time with Mom's kids till the point where I thought I just don't ever want any kids. She raised all of us. She had us at home, every one of those babies. She had 10 children. The brother older than me passed away at about 18 months, and that broke my mother's heart. But when I came along, like I've said before, I was the princess. And that's why I'm so self-confident, I think, because I am self-confident. Most of the time, I just go ahead and do whatever, I'm not afraid of a lot of stuff. I don't live with fear. I give credit to the Lord for that, to not live with fear. But when I lost Buddy after 44 years of married life, I was devastated, but the Lord helped me through it. But I didn't dream that one day, I did dream, because when I was a little girl, I thought, someday I would like to be married to a preacher. And it seemed like the Lord spoke to my heart that your husband's going to be a very special man for me. And I really felt like that was true. And then when I married him and he went to church with me about 8 months and dropped out. And so I raised the kids in church, and then he got jobs where he had to work in the bakery, and he really couldn't even go to church. So I raised the kids mainly, and I tried to give them good memories. I tried to give my children, I had the twins, which I was thankful for, and then I had Kim 4 years later, and we adopted Dennis Keith, our son, when he was 5 years old. He was a foster child, and he really fitted in our family good because we needed a little boy, and Kim kept saying, I want a brother, I want a brother. We got her a brother, and she was really pleased with him, and he was a good little boy. And he was a go-getter. And he's successful today, but now he's retired, but he had a successful life. He worked on, but what happened one time with Dennis, him and his son both, you know how I change subjects all the time. That's life. My mind goes here, there. But when I speak of Dennis and his son, he got married young, and they had Keith, because Dennis's name is Dennis Keith, so they named their son Keith. And then they had a daughter, but this son Keith and Dennis both was working for the railroad here in this area. And one day, the train, and Dennis was on it, we have a big long tunnel here that the train has to go through. Well, the motor stopped and the train wouldn't run, and the smoke was so bad with other stuff running that Dennis's lungs were damaged. Well, he got a settlement for that. Not nearly enough, but he couldn't work for a long time. But we prayed, and you know, God healed his lungs over time till he could go to work at other jobs. And then his son was helping with the train, still working for the railroad, and he was uncoupling something, and somebody turned the train loose, and it ran over both of his legs and cut him off. Now, Keith is still here in this world, but we thought we was going to lose him, because when Dennis Keith and the mom, when they called me and said pray, because they're trying to attach one leg, but the other one they definitely cannot. It was too damaged. So Keith has got one good leg now, and then a prosthesis thing. And you know, he gets around real good. When he was a kid, his mom said, oh, he got a settlement. He got millions of dollars. Thank you, Jesus. And now he's got 6 kids. But anyhow, his mom, Dennis's wife, Sherry, said, you know what Keith would like to do most in this world? Not go to school. They lived close to the Ohio River. He loved to fish. And he fished a lot whenever he could. She says he just wants to run through the woods and fish. That's what he wants to do for a living. Well, of course, you can't do that, but she said that's all he ever wants to do is run through the woods and fish. So after he recovered, they didn't know for sure if he would live, but we prayed and God answered yes. And then he had a hard time adjusting to that, you know, the leg that was gone, and kept trying to get different kinds of but now you can't even tell he's wearing one. Of course, that's been 25, 30 years ago, because he's got 6 kids now, and a very happy father. But guess what? He's got enough money to go fishing, hunting, anytime he wants to. And I think sometimes he goes to Canada to fish. He goes wherever he wants to fish. God gave him his dream to come true like that. And they're good people. They know the Lord. And I'm so thrilled that my family knows Jesus. But they do. And Dennis Keith, he called me for Mother's Day, because we don't talk a whole lot. You know what happens when children grow up? They may not call you that much, but he'll call me on Mother's Day and wish me a happy Mother's Day. And he says, Mom, you're like that bunny rabbit that just keeps going. I said, well, I'm doing good. I feel good. And I went out and got me some chicken livers today. I do that about once a week. And I think it makes me stronger. I don't know. I feel strong. And I've got, you know what? I bought a rack of ribs, and they're in the Ninja Foodie that is recalled. You know, they recalled about 1 million or 2 million Ninja Foodies. They're replacing the lids because of some of the lids, if it's not depressurized, and if you accidentally don't let all the pressure go down, it can explode. They said, and it's burned people and hurt people. And of course, I always make sure my pressure is always down, and I'll make sure today that the pressure is really down before I take my ribs out. And you only have, when you make a rack of ribs, you season them real good and everything, and then when they get done, and it only takes 20 minutes in the pressure cooker, and you take them out and you put them on a pan and you put them in your other oven, and you put barbecue sauce on them, and cook them for about 12 minutes at high heat on the top, like broil or on top, and James loves them. So I've got them cooking, and they'll be done by the time I get done talking to y'all, probably. This weekend just went marvelous. I found so many things I can use, and I like this. I got this thing here. Now, what's funny about it is it's got two little things like this, like deer horns or deer ears or something, and comes up like that. And I wore that to the Y this morning. People tell me they like what I wear in my hair. Usually I wear pretty flowers, but I don't know, I was in a red and black mood today. I get in different moods, but I stay in a mood. Since I have learned how to put my TV in back of me and give me this atmosphere, ambiance of the peace. I love waterfalls. And this one is, I'll leave this on and turn the water up and read this book I'm reading after I get done talking to y'all. And it'll be so nice. And I tell you what else I'm doing. You know, it's good to be kind. Well, I have these other YouTube friends like 967 Andy and Kentucky Life with Debbie and, well, quite a few. And so I can share. I found out, and I didn't know it, that you can share their things like on X, because I'm on X and I share my YouTube on X all the time. Been doing it a long time. And on Facebook, I do that too. I'm Clarine Rice on Facebook. And I got a lot of friends. But when you go on X, you get a lot of exposure, you know. So what I've been doing is putting some of Andy's good ones on X, and I did Life in Kentucky with Debbie's. I put a couple of hers on. She did a real good thing the other day talking about be careful what you pray for. And there was so much truth in that. Be careful what you pray for, because we need to pray what God wants. His will be done, not ours. And we don't always know the right thing to be done. So we pray, Lord, you do the right thing. And I trust you to do the right thing. And he does do the right thing. And that's where our trust comes into play. And she learned a hard lesson. And she shared it with everybody. And it's a good one that y'all should watch, honestly, I think, because she expressed it all so well. And it was a good one. And then she tells funny stories at the end of her thing. She looks up funny stories and will tell a funny story. And that's a good thing. Because, see, she was watching me on YouTube all the time. And she told me through comment, she said, you know, I watch you. And I feel like I've got a lot to say. Sometimes I think I might ought to go on YouTube. And I said, go for it. Go ahead, do it. Be bold. And she did. And she's got like 150 or 60 subscribers now. She's only got like 35 videos on. She put a couple of shorts on. And she did one with her horses, and I put that on X. I don't think she even has X or TikTok. And I'm on TikTok too. And I'm going to do a little story for TikTok. That helps add subscribers to my YouTube, because a lot of those, and TikTok is mainly kids, teenagers, people under 25. There's not a whole lot of grandmas and grandpas on TikTok, but there's a few of us. And there's a whole lot of Jesus on TikTok. A lot of people think, well, that's just a sinful thing. It's from China and all this. No, it may be from China, but it's not sinful. You can look at sinful things, but you don't have to. Look at the Christian things. We choose what we want to look at. So we don't look at anything that's detrimental to our mind or our health. You should not ever fill your mind with bad stuff. Do not dwell on it. Let your minds think on whatsoever things are lovely and good. If there be any profit, think on those things. That's what the Bible says in Philippians 4th chapter. So I like to think on good things and how good y'all are. And I was telling James this morning, I said, honey, you know, some of these people, not my people, whoever watches me, I have only one time got one thing that was not nice. I deleted it. Y'all didn't get to see it. I just deleted it right away, and that's been a year ago or more. And anyway, somebody said something not nice to Grandma. I chit chat with Granny Pat. This is some time ago, and I hope she deleted it, but it upset her so bad. But that what happened to mine, it didn't upset me. I just said, "You're gone. You're not going to be here anymore. You don't need to talk like that," whatever it was, and I don't remember. But it just wasn't nice. And we should be nice to one another and kind to one another. And all my subscribers are. I have the sweetest subscribers in the whole world. And I am getting people from everywhere, from Sweden. And it's amazing. And I just say, Lord, I know it's not me. I know it's you. And I appreciate it, Lord, that you are blessing the YouTube so that I can talk to people about you. And really, it's just the way I am. Because when I was a little girl, I just, the Lord was just ever present when I was, young. And he's always been real to me. A lot of people, I guess, don't have the faith, but when Pat Day the jockey had that 45-foot fifth wheel, the Bible says that you ask, and sometimes you ask amiss. Well, when I saw that big old 45-foot fifth wheel for sale, I asked Tom Stinnett, the guy that was selling trailers, and it was on his lot, why in the world? I mean, be curious. You'll learn more stuff. I mean, ask questions. And I do. I'm a little nibby. But anyway, I asked him, what in the world? And he said, well, I'm going to tell you this. And I've told it before. He said, Pat Day had this special built up in northern Indiana where they build all the trailers nearly there. And so he ordered it 2 inches shorter. He's a little short guy, comes right here. I met him later. And they built everything 2 inches taller. Well, that don't matter to me because I'm a little taller than. I said, well, I reckon he would donate that to a ministry because I had went and got tax exempt status, because that's a good thing to have if you're a church or evangelist. Then you don't have to pay taxes on the stuff you buy, and you can give people an exemption. They can take it off their taxes when they make a donation. And he said, yes. Well, we had to wait 3 weeks. And that's when I asked, Lord, if it be your will, let that happen. Because we could sure use that 45-foot fifth wheel. And we used it for 5 years. Now, those kind of fifth wheels, 45 foot long, are not made to be pulled continuously. They're made to be pulled and leave them place. And don't be pulling them. But we changed churches every week. We would preach Sunday through Wednesday. And sometimes if the revival went over, it'd be through Friday. But we had to schedule, and I was the scheduler, so that we would have time to travel. And we traveled as far north as northern New York. Now the Poconos, one of my little friends named Clarence was talking about the Poconos, and he wouldn't mind having him a log cabin in the Poconos. Well, one year we was in upper New York, and it was fall, and we had a day or two off. And so we was in a park in the Poconos, and the trees were beautiful, all colors. I mean, it was gorgeous. I wish I could have shown you. Well, probably you could find it on YouTube, Poconos in color. And so we got into that park, and we stayed there for a couple of days, and I still remember the wonderful time we had there at that park in upper New York State. And then we went to Niagara Falls, which we got to go 2 times. This pastor and his wife took us one time, and then we went another time, and we just had such fun with them. And they're still up there in New York, in the upper part. Now, we was up there in July in New York, and they're up near Buffalo. Now, Buffalo, New York is cold even in the summertime. So I had to pull out a sweater and wear it when we was at their church. It was way up north, and we enjoyed New York. Margie Metzger and Paul Metzger. And I saw she's on Facebook. I haven't talked to her lately, but she's catching up with me in age, and I don't know if she knows I don't know if she looks at me on Facebook or not, but I got her phone number. I'm going to have to give her a call and let her know I'm still here kicking. That's what they say. Are you still kicking? Yes, I am. I'm being a happy. You know, people talk about happy, and I think maybe joyful and enthused and contented, because happy just lasts for a little bit, but when you're contented, like I am, it lasts all day long, all week long, all year long, because you're contented. And I have been so contented, married to James. I have had some wonderful years, going on 16, with James. And let me tell you what else. We've got these 4 cats, and 2 of them want to sleep with us all the time. Well, I made the mistake of letting the one with the little white tippy tail sleep with me because she loves the ground I walk on. She is, when I get up from a nap or something, if I'm at James's house, she meets me and starts meowing, and what she's saying is, "Sit down, Mommy, I want in your lap." And if I sit down, she's right there in my lap. Well, tell you what, when she's sleeping with me, and I let her sleep with me a long time because she would scratch on the door and drive us crazy. I mean, you can't go to sleep if you don't let her in. She insists on it. So I let her in. I made the mistake, and that's been a few months ago. The other one, James's, don't care. She goes and minds her own business. But that little thing wants to be right close to me, and I have to get up a couple of times a night, and every time I get up, she gets another, and I can't get back to sleep because she wants to snuggle, and I don't want to snuggle. I push her away. I tell you what, I push her out of bed so I can get rearranged with the covers, and she thinks it's a game, and she's in the bed before I can get the covers rearranged. She thinks it's so much fun. So we just did something different. We got strong. We have a little breezeway that they just love. If that door gets open, then I have my spare refrigerator and deep freeze out on the breezeway, which is the way you get to the garage from my big living room. So they just love to go out there, and I told James, I said, that's their playhouse. So when I come home of an evening, I open that door, and I let them go out there, and they just happy. So I said, honey, they love it so good. Why don't we let them sleep out there? Because we couldn't hear them scratching on our door. So we put a kitty litter box out there, food and water. And I said, good night, girls, and shut the door. I have had 2 good nights of sleep. I think I look better than I have in 2 or 3 days. When you get your sleep, it makes a difference when you're 91. And it feels so good to get when I get up to use a potty, I keep a potty right by my bed, because his bathroom is all down the hallway, and I don't want to be going down the hallway in the middle of the night, which I would have to do. You just do those things as you get older, whatever you got to do. That's a fact, Jack. Oh, I've got some of my commenters now saying, that's a fact, Jack. I like James because he's got such a great sense of humor. When I first met him, and we went out to eat, and we was not very acquainted yet, and I said, well, you know, I am a little outgoing, and I thought he was going to fall off his chair laughing, but I didn't propose. He did. I am a little outgoing, but if he hadn't done it pretty soon, I might have. Who knows? But he was on time. He did the right thing. Let's get married. I met a couple the other day, which shall remain nameless, because I didn't get their name. They were at a yard sale. Fact is, she's the one that has this. She'll know who she was, but I don't think she subscribed. And they were a handsome couple. She was beautiful, and he was good looking. They weren't quite as old as us, but they were probably in their 70s. And they had a beautiful home and a beautiful yard. Everything was beautiful. She's the one that told me about those little clasps that you can order, which I did order for my necklace. You can have a magnetic clasp on the necklace where you can't get them fixed. And I said, well, y'all are the loveliest couple. Are y'all a Democrat or Republican? Because they had such a sweet spirit. They were Democrats. I like to fell over. They're the sweetest Democrats I ever met. They were so sweet. I said, well, y'all get along so well and you're doing so well. I said, are y'all married or single? Why I said that, I don't know. I don't know because I don't say stuff like that usually. She said, well, we're not married, but we've been together 3 years. I said, well, y'all need to get married then. I said, I'll see y'all later. Thank you for everything. But they just laughed because they know they need to get married. But they've been together 3 years. That's up to God to judge whether he considers that marriage or not. When you're that old and they're both such a lovely couple and they were Democrat, I was floored. You never know what you're going to run into out there on the I started to say evangelistic field. That's true too because we saw everything out there. You would not believe some situations. We went to one church up in Pennsylvania, and this is the truth. Everybody in that church were like slow. They were just plain slow. They were like they were from down in Appalachia without an education. I think that mainly was it. None of them was hardly educated, and the pastor and his wife was just like they were, the rest of the congregation. And they had a beautiful park up there. And so they said, do you want to go walking through the park? And back then, Buddy and I did a lot of walking. So we said, yes, we would like that. So she says, well, is it okay if I take the babies too? I said, sure, you know. So she's going to carry one on her hip, and the other one's going to walk. And so her and her husband, they walk us through this beautiful park. She said, now don't pay no attention. The baby's kind of got the croup and he's got Vicks salve all over him. You could not smell the woods or anything for the Vicks salve because she was right close to me. Of course, I don't hate Vicks salve, but it's strong. Fact is, I heard Kentucky Life with Debbie this morning has been having the cough and coughing and coughing. And so she said, you know, I always heard tell that if you put Vicks salve on the bottom of your feet, it would stop your coughing and stuff and help you to breathe better. She said, no, I hadn't done it. But last night or night before last, she did it. She put that Vicks salve on the bottom of her feet. She said, I slept. I got the best sleep I've had, and I don't know when. She says, I tell other people to do it, and I had never done it, but I did it. I did it last night. She said, and it worked. And she slept good. You don't know what you're going to learn on YouTube either, do you? I had heard that, but I've never done it. We put Vicks salve with a towel or something on our chest when we're coughing. And just the smell of it, breathing it in seems to make you breathe better. I've done that more than once. So, Debbie, you ought to try that. If your feet, Vicks salve on your feet don't work. But she wasn't coughing much this morning. But she went to the doctor the other day and got her 2 shots, and she thought that was going to take care of it, but she's still having some coughing problems. Oh my goodness. There's James. See me smile, and I gotta go. Talk to you soon. God bless you, and walk that walk where Jesus would be pleased with you. Bye-bye.